Hi there, and welcome to another Mickey's Roundtable adventure where we explore everything Disney, one themed adventure at a time. For this adventure, I headed over to Magic Kingdom April 27th, 2025 for the Spring Dapper Day. You're not going to want to miss this very dapper Mickey's Roundtable adventure. This was the second year that I was able to go to Dapper Day. The last time was a couple years ago, 2023. I went 2 different days. They had an event at Epcot and at Magic Kingdom. They've been doing Dapper Day since 2011, February 20th, 2011 to be specific, out at Disneyland was the very first Dapper Day. You can go to their website, dapperday.com. It is not officially a Disney thing, although Disney seems to embrace it. Go on their website, you can find out all of the events that they're planning. They sell merchandise, and then there's a little history in there. And in the history, it talks about, quoting the founder, "I wish I could dress up without everyone looking at me." I don't know how much that's achieved because a lot of people are dressed up, but you do still get some looks from all the other guests that are there in their t-shirts and flip-flops and whatnot. But the idea is you get to go to the parks and you dress up. Again, per the website, dress up a little or a lot, and that's up to you to decide what is a lot, what is a little. I was actually dressed down a little bit this year relative to the last time that I went. And step out in style, another one of their key phrases there. Go to the website, you can read the whole history there. Again, my personal history, a couple years ago I went, enjoyed it, wanted to go again, especially this year, because out of all of their different events, they were going to meet at the Liberty Bell riverboat and get as many people on the boat at a time. It's the only attraction that can hold that kind of crowd, the largest single ride vehicle in all of Walt Disney World. So didn't just do that. That was the highlight, or one of the highlights I should say, but I headed over to Magic Kingdom. I had a few things planned, things that I wanted to do, but the very first thing I did not have planned. I walked into the park and I saw one of the Main Street vehicles. I thought, oh, maybe I'll take a Main Street vehicle up to Cinderella Castle, and then I turned around and who do I see sitting under the train station? Walt Disney himself. Okay, it wasn't really Walt Disney. There's a gentleman, he dresses up as Walt Disney. You can kind of see I've got that look going for me as well. And so I couldn't help but come over and introduce myself and say hi to him. He's at the parks fairly regularly. Every once in a while I've seen him there before. But this was the first time I got to chat with him, and he was thinking the same thing. He was going to ride up to Cinderella Castle in one of those Main Street vehicles. So I joined him and chatted with him a little bit. Fantastic experience. I headed over to the partner statue first, pay my respects to the man himself, Walt Disney. From there, then I headed over to my first attraction, the Carousel of Progress over in Tomorrowland, and it is a true classic in every sense of the word. Love the Carousel of Progress.
He's never gonna make it.
From Tomorrowland and a city of the future, I headed across the park and into the past and into the jungles of the world. I went over to Adventureland and I headed to the Enchanted Tiki Room, another classic Disney attraction.
And the flowers grow in the tiki room.
From the Enchanted Tiki Room in Adventureland, I headed into Frontierland, a little bit further on into the past, and headed on over to the Walt Disney World Railroad, the train station there in Frontierland, where I boarded the Roger E. Brogy. I took the train then over to Storybook Circus Fantasyland and got off there before heading on over behind the castle by Pinocchio Village House, grabbed myself a snack, and then that was the first meeting, so 11 o'clock a.m., Dapper Orlando meetup photo here on the schedule at the Fantasyland wall. I had not heard it called that before, but it makes sense. There's the new walls behind the carousel and the castle there that kind of separate new Fantasyland from the original Fantasyland. They did a photo shoot there, got a group photo of all the people that were there, all dressed up. It was like a party. I don't like parties. I'm not a party guy. When I was a kid, I was shy. Now, of course, as an adult, I've grown out of that, and now I'm just socially inept. Yeah, mingling and meeting new people, not necessarily my thing, but I did join them all for the group photo. So Main Street USA, Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland. It seems like I'm missing one. Oh, that's right. Liberty Square. So Liberty Square was the only land in Magic Kingdom that I had not been to yet. So I headed over there and jumped onto the Liberty Bell riverboat on the Rivers of America. The planned meetup wasn't until the 2 o'clock trip. The riverboat's very cool in that respect, in many respects, but in that respect as well, it runs on a schedule every half hour, so you can kind of plan when you want to go. If you've got a reservation somewhere, you can fit that in with your reservation because you know exactly when the boat's going to leave, and it's a 20-minute round trip. You know exactly when you're going to get back and how much time you have to make your reservation. I went to an earlier sailing of the riverboat and headed around the Rivers of America. Upon the return to Liberty Square, that landing was packed. It was full of folks dressed all in their best dapper outfits, and so I just stayed on the boat in that 2 o'clock trip. The capacity of the riverboat is 450. I don't know if they quite reached that or not, or if they cut people off, but it was full. So when the boat's at capacity, this is what it looks like, and it's fantastic to see so many people enjoying and appreciating the Liberty Square riverboat, the Rivers of America, the Liberty Bell, and they're all dressed up, dressed to the nines, and it just goes to show you that the Liberty Bell riverboat, the Liberty Square riverboat, is still a draw. You have to give people a reason to go, and they gave people a reason. They had PhotoPass photographers on there, and then folks were taking their own pictures. It's fantastic to see the boat that full of people, although it's not as much fun when it's that full of people because I like to wander and you kind of everybody everywhere. Still, very cool experience, and they were waving from the boat, and the crowds were waving from the Haunted Mansion line and from the walkway along Frontierland, the whole thing. Very cool experience, very fun way to experience the riverboat like it would have been back in the 70s, back in its heyday, when it was still a very popular attraction. My last big goal of the day was to go have some dinner, late lunch, early dinner. I headed over to Tony's Town Square restaurant there in the Town Square on Main Street, USA. Right about 3 o'clock, 3:10 was my reservation. Now the big parade, the Festival of Fantasy parade, that starts at 3 o'clock as well. And so I requested that I got a table outside. So there's indoor seating, and then they've got kind of a glassed-in area with some nice views out into the Town Square area there. But then they have the kind of patio area where you are outside. No air conditioning, but really nice views, especially during parade time. I'm guessing when it's hot out, it's not as busy out there than it is during parade time. But I did manage to get a table. When I asked, they said, well, I'm not sure, maybe, we'll see. And I did get a, I think, perfect table. And it was nice, so I'm waiting for my meal, and boom, there it goes. I got the spaghetti and meatballs, and it landed on the table just as the Festival of Fantasy music kicked in, and got to watch the parade, and there's no air conditioning, you're kind of in the sun. My phone was starting to overheat, you get the message on there, overheating, and you can't do anything with it till it cools down. So I didn't get as much footage of the parade as I would have liked, but it worked out because I actually had to watch the parade instead of taking pictures and shooting video. I did get a little bit, though. Really cool to watch the parade from that vantage point and do all of that. That kind of wrapped up my day for the most part. So I headed on over to the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. It was the best Country Bear Musical Jamboree ever. I didn't pay much attention to the show. I actually went over to see a friend that was working there, and she is a huge Walt Disney fan, and I mean Walt Disney fan, not just a Disney fan. Most people Walt Disney, they're, on a scale of 1 to 10, they're probably a 2 or a 3. I'd say I'm a 5 or a 6. She's an 11 or 12. She's up there. So I wanted to show her my Walt Disney bound, and got to sit in the theater and chat with her for a little bit. I knew she had an interest in Walt Disney and was fascinated by him. And I asked her, where did this come from? Where did this evolve from? Where did this develop? And she told me the story. I thought it was really, really a cool story, which is why I'm sharing it with you now. But it reminded me of a quote, a Ronald Reagan quote. There is a flickering spark in us all, which if struck at the right age, can light the rest of our lives. So the spark that is lighting her life right now, when she was a kid, when she was in elementary school, she had to do a book report at school on some famous person. She ended up doing her book report on Walt Disney and just became fascinated with him and with his life and with all things Disney. And as a result of doing that book report, she too ended up dressing up as Walt Disney in order to do her book report. And I just think that's cool, and it's still guiding her to this day. As I was planning what I wanted to wear, putting together my outfit for Dapper Day, deciding that I wanted to do something Walt Disney related, a Walt Disney look, Walt Disney bound, however you want to describe it, I thought, you know what? There's a Dapper Day and there's an Adventureland Day. There's others. Those are the two that I've attended and been to. Why isn't there a Walt Day? Why doesn't somebody plan and set up a Walt Day at the parks? And then I thought, you know what? I seem to recall my mom telling me I'm somebody. So I thought, let me do this. I set up a Facebook page and an event called Walt Day. You can look it up on the Facebook there. And let me know if you're interested. Share it with other folks, whatnot. Decided to do it later on this year. Give people a chance to come up with ideas for how they exactly wanted to dress and what they wanted to put together their outfits. But you can't go too late in December because that gets into Christmas and New Year's. Too early, you get into, there's Thanksgiving and Halloween. So first part of December maybe. How about December 5th maybe? All right. Now, if you're a fan of Walt Disney, you already know that December 5th, 1901, Walt Disney was born in Chicago, Illinois. So on his birthday this coming year, 2025, that's when we'll do it. I think I got the date right there, and if I didn't, I know somebody that will correct me. And anyway, so December 5th, 2025, let's have a get-together at Magic Kingdom. I'll be there dressed in my Walt Disney attire. We'll see how many other folks we can get to join us. And so that's the plan. And really, anybody can dress up as Walt Disney. Whether you're a kid in school doing a book report, or a Disney blogger, or a semi-retired guy that likes coming to the parks and dressing up as Walt Disney. Anybody can do it. Now, for my specific outfit, there's plenty of photos online of Walt Disney. Usually, more in later life, he wore a gray suit. If you see my photo over here, generally wore a gray suit with a dark tie, Smoke Tree Ranch pin on his tie. You can see that on the various partner statues, various photos. You'll see that in there. So there's a number of different things that you can do for a Walt look. There's the mustache, of course, the Smoke Tree Ranch tie pin. But for inspiration, for other options, I headed over to Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney Presents. There's a movie, but outside the movie there's a little museum and exhibits on Walt Disney and the history of him and the Disney parks and Disney films. Right when you walk in, there's a whole assortment of photos of him wearing different things. There's a photo of him wearing suspenders, so that fits. From there, I also went over to the Riviera Resort at Walt Disney World here. That is themed to a trip that Walt Disney took to the Riviera in France. And they've got a little library right off the main lobby. And there's some artifacts and some exhibits in there, including Walt's hat. So I went there to check that out to see what it actually looked like. And I thought, okay, I've got to get that. So I head over to Disney Springs then, and there's the hat shop there. and went in there and I found the absolute perfect hat. It was like it was an exact match of what Walt wore, what's on display there at the Riviera. And yeah, it was the wrong size and it was the last one and they didn't know if they were going to get more in. But they did find this one, which is very close, and it was slightly cheaper, like $50 or $60 cheaper than the other one. So I went with this one and I think it turned out very well. Anyway, look online, go to the parks and find exhibits, displays of things that Walt wore. Come up with ideas of your own. He wore sweaters. He wore his engineer cap, different things. You can find things out. And yeah, let's do that. December 5th, 2025, we'll have our first official Walt Day at Magic Kingdom here at Walt Disney World in Florida. Anyway, I thought this was a good opportunity to throw out my idea for that and introduce it to the world. But for now, for this video, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to wrap it up. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. No, I still want you to, if you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There we go. That's it for this Mickey's Roundtable adventure. We'll see you real soon.